Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Fe'ayom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Fe'ayom. Shabbat Shalom.
If you're following in the prayer book, we're on page 287. It is not we alone who pray, all things pour forth their souls. The heavens pray, the earth prays, every creature and every living thing prays. In all life there is longing. Creation itself is but a longing, a prayer to the Almighty. What are the clouds, the rising and the setting of the sun, the soft radiance of the moon, and the gentleness of the night? What are the flashes of the human mind and the storms of the human heart? They are all prayers, the outpouring of boundless longing for God. To present Logan with the tallis, a very special tallis that he'll wear not only on this day, but hopefully on many future occasions over his Jewish journey. It's my pleasure to welcome forward his parents, David and Lisa Banks.
As I wrap myself in the talit, I fulfill the mitzvah of my Creator. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushani b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu nitatef b'tzivti. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to wrap ourselves in the fringes. May my life be one link in a chain of goodness, as I say the prayers of my ancestors. Help me to recall their devotion and faithfulness, their joy and suffering, which are in every word. Holiness is my heritage, may I be worthy of it. May our tradition live in me and pass from me to generations I shall never know, enriched by the truth that I have found, the good deeds I have done. So may I fulfill my task on earth and receive my blessing. And when the service ends and the prayers have ceased, help me to bring their spirit into the world in which I live. I love God above all, my neighbor as myself, be a living witness to the truth of his faith.
We sing together Ma Tovu, page 290.
Ma tovu alecha Yaakov, alecha Yaakov, mishkenatecha Yisrael. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov, alecha Yaakov, mishkenatecha Yisrael. Ani mirov kastika avovitecha eshakabe echol kuchika biatecha ma tovu alecha Yaakov alecha Yaakov mishkenatecha Yisrael. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov alecha Yaakov mishkenatecha Yisrael. Adonai avdi me'on beitecha u'mekom mishkan kvodecha. Ani eshakabeh ve'ekra evrecha livnei Adonai osi. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov alecha Yaakov mishkenatecha Yisrael. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov alecha Yaakov mishkenatecha Yisrael.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware, we would lack the strength to sustain life before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofei chol basar, umafli la'aso. On page 293, we continue with Nisim B'chol Yom, a series of blessings that has us acknowledge the Nisim, the miracles that we find in our everyday lives. And the idea is that on Shabbat especially, we're meant to be attuned to the miraculous, that over the course of our busy weeks, we often lose sight of the good in our world, the good in ourselves. On Shabbat, we're meant to slow down and to be especially attuned to that good as we chant together Nisim B'chol Yom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasek bina le'avkin bein yom u'bein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, bokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokach haaretz ha'amayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamekim mitzadei kareh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish harumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten layaif koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir sheina me'einai u'tnuma me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani b'tselem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani b'chorim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Uzer Yisrael b'kura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Uzer Yisrael b'tikara.
We join in the blessing for the study of Torah. So thankful that we live in a time and place where we can study Torah and live the values of our Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. Our service will continue now on page 313, where we find Baruch Hu, our call to worship. Please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hambarach, Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Ba'ed. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever. The world is sunlight, restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart, bringing light to the eyes, more welcomes than gold, a Torah from heaven. I have no light to give the morning, my Torah, my special human gift, is words. As I bring my words forth from silence, welcome them, you who redeems the sun from darkness. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer Hamarot. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear, in every land and every age. Your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways, and yet, O God, you are one unifier of humanity.
We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully, we recall the lawgivers and prophets, psalmists and sages of Israel, and joyfully we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we return to you and find purpose.
May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael ba'ahaba. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Hashem kavod malchutzo le'olam va'ed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty, forever and ever. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. Ve'avta Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'chayu adavarim ha'elech asher anuchi mitzacha chayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'vetecha v'letecha v'aderech Upshachcha uklumecha, ukshartam, le'ol yadecha, v'chayu totafot beinenecha, uktavtam, al mezuzot beitecha, v'isharecha, l'man tiskeru, v'asitem, mikol mitzvotai, v'item kidoshim le'lohechem, ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzerti etzchem me'eretz Mitzrayim l'chiyot lachem le'ochim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, norati lo dosei pele, norati lo dosei pele. Shiro chadasha shibechu geulim, Hashem kol tzvot hayom, yachad kulam hodu, ve'imlichu ve'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed.
As we turn together to page 323 in our prayer books, we rise for our tefillah.
Adonai sefatei tiftach ufi agid tefilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora, Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Gomei Chachol, Zocher Tzlevi V'Macho, U'Mevi Geula L'Nefechem, L'man Shemo V'Achava, Melech Ozer Mashiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham Bezrat Sarah. Tagi Borle Olam Adonai, Mahaya Kol Atarav Yeshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechakel Chaim Kol Berachami Rabbi, Zomech Nofim Berofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Edinato, Lishenei Afar, Michamoch Aval Kiro, Umido Melach, Melech Mimi Tumechaye, Umatzir Shva, Nemanat Al-Chayotako, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye Chakol.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר, אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מתיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ורחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גולך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. והשכח אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת בקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת בקוראי עונג שבת. מקדשי שבי שבת, כולם ישמעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת בקוראי עונג שבת. והשביר רצית בו, רצית בו וקידשתו שבת. עמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת בקוראי עונג שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת בקוראי עונג שבת.
The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat, we try to become attuned to the holiness in time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Our service will continue now with a prayer for peace, sim shalom, for this world desperately in need of a greater level of peace. Sim shalom can be found on page 334.
Sim shalom, tova bracha. sim shalom, tova uvracha, sim shalom, tova uvracha. Vein v'chesed verachamim. Vein v'chesed verachamim. Verachamim sim shalom. Sim shalom tova uvracha aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael kamecha. ימיד נעשה לכל ערום.
Logan, in just a moment, you're going to have the great honor of chanting from our Torah, a great honor, a great privilege reserved for those who have become a young adult in our community. And so before we do this, we say a couple of words regarding this important moment and what it means to read from the Torah, chant from the Torah. And on this day of many prayers, I would say that our shared hope and prayer is that you carry the Torah with you always, that it becomes a part of who you are, that you know that these stories are your stories, that the stories found in our Torah, stories of courage and faith and kindness and generosity, these are your stories. And these are the stories that the Jewish people have lived since the very beginning of time. And as you go forward from this day to your Jewish adult life, we pray that you carry them with you always and know always how loved you are. And with that said, we're going to hear now some words from your parents.
And now we pray that you, Logan, may always be worthy of his inheritance. Take his teachings into your heart, and in turn pass it on to your children and those who come after you. May you be a faithful Jew, searching for wisdom and truth, working for justice and peace.
A word about our Torah reading for this Shabbat morning. You may be seated. We ordinarily are making our way through the book of Numbers and would be focused on this beautiful Torah portion of Beha'alotecha, a portion about the building of the first ever synagogue, this portable tabernacle our people carried with them through the wilderness. And that would have been a great portion to talk about. But another great portion to talk about is the one that Logan prepared to chant for his original bar mitzvah date. And that portion is the portion of Vayikra, the very first portion of Leviticus. Also a beautiful and very important Torah portion that has God speak to Moses and share with Moses the types of sacrifices that the Israelites are to make in order to connect with God and with the community. And of course, there'll be a lot for us to say about this very idea, this very word sacrifice, the sacrifices we're making for the sake of our community, for the sake of those who need our help. So for those who would like to follow along, I would invite you to turn in your Torah commentary, that's the big book in front of you, to Leviticus chapter 1, verse 1, if you'd like. That's on page 978. And with the honor of our first Aliyah to the Torah, it's my pleasure to welcome forward virtually through a phone, with Hayden's help, Gary and Helen Banks. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bashar Badu Mikol Ha'amin V'naten Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayikra Moshe, Vaydaber Adonai Elav, Vayachal Moed Lemor, Daber El Bnei Yisrael, V'amarta Alechem Adam, Ki Akriv Mikem, Korban Adonai, Min habahemach, min habakar, umin hatzon, takrivenu et korban hen. Imolach korbano, min habakar, zachar tamim, yakrivenu, el petach, ochel moed, yakriv oto, lertzono, lifnei Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chaye olam natah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. This is the miracle of modern technology. We are living it before our very eyes. The honor of our second Aliyah to the Torah, it's my pleasure to welcome forward Howard and Jan Rosenberg, Yeheskel Kalman ben Eleazar ve'eta bat Hananya.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'elam voed. Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bochabanu mikol ha'anim beno atan lanu et toratav. Baruch ato Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Samach yado al rosh Allah. V'nir tzalo achaper Allah. V'shachat et ben habakar b'nei Adonai. V'hikrivu b'nei Aharon akohanim et Adam. V'zarku et Adam al mizbeach. Saviv asher petach ochel moed. V'hivshit et ta'ala. Nitach otach lintach echa.
Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torat emet. V'chai olam l'tah b'tochenu. Baruch ato Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. The honor of our third Aliyah to the Torah, it's my pleasure to welcome forward, both in person and online, Hayden along with Brian and Stacy Jones, Haviv Meir ben Fega Zahava, Ben Sion ben Moshe Visara, Abriel Gabriela, Bat Heskel Kalman Be'eta.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher b'harbanu mikol ha'anim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'natzenu b'nei Aharon akohanim et Eish HaMizbeach. V'rechu eitzim ha'eish. V'rechu b'nei Aaron akohanim et Atachim et Tarosh. V'tavader al ha'eitzim asher ha'eish asher ha'mizbeach. V'kirbo charav yirchad b'amayim. V'hikir ha'kohen et tafo ha'mizbeach. Ulach v'shiriach licho ach Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torat emet. V'chai olam l'tah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We did it. We're doing our best, right? We're doing our best. With the honor of our fourth Aliyah to the Torah, it's my pleasure to welcome forward Lisa and David Banks, Vega Zahava Bat Yeheskel Kalman Be'eta.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher b'harbanu mikol ha'anim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Ve'imin hatson korbano min hokosavim o min hatzim la'olah zachar tamim yakivenu v'shachar oto al yeres chamis be'ach zafane lifnei Adonai zarachu b'nei Aaron hakohanim et damo al mizbeach zavim v'natach oto l'intachet Bet Rosho, Bet Pedro, Barach HaKohen Atam, Ha'etzim, Asher Al Ha'ish, Asher Al Mizbeach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata v'techinu. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. My honor and privilege to officially call to the Torah now as a bar mitzvah, Logan Seth Banks, Elazar Shaul Bar Vega Zahava. Please rise, everyone.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. V'hakeret v'hafraim yirchatz b'mayim v'hikri hakohen et hakol akir amizbecha u'achu yisheriach lichoach l'Adonai. Ve'imin ha'of Allah korbano Adonai v'hakeret min hatrim omin b'nei ayonat korbano v'hakeret hakohen et hamizbeach v'malach et rosho v'hiktir hamizbecha v'imsa damo al kir hamizbeach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tifenu. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov. Yeilanu, 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 oleko Yisrael. Yeilanu, yeilanu, oleko Yisrael. Simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov. Yeilanu. Ezot HaTorah asher samosha lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai biyad Moshe al shlosha divarim al shlosha divarim olam olam omed al Torah ve'al avodah ve'al gemelut Chasadim, al Torah ve'al avodah ve'al gemelut chasadim. Lo yisa goyel goy cheret, lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisa goyel goy cheret, lo yilmedu od milchama.
We may be seated. At this important point in our service, we pause in order to offer a prayer for healing for those in our own lives, those in our own community, and those around the world who are struggling with illness. It need not be said that there are so many at this very moment who are wrestling with sickness, struggling in some way. And we pray now for them and for their family members, for all who are hurting, with our prayer for healing, Mishaberach. And on this Shabbat morning, our prayers as a congregation are with Ileana Cohn, Rick Ulrich, Lynn Romsberg, Amy Martyr, Roxanne Forth, Jerry Dreskin, Bruce Berkowitz, Ann Marsden, Stephen Trombecki, Zipporah Liba Bat Miriam, Sandra Goldman, and all those who we hold in our heart at this very moment. If you're watching on Zoom or Facebook, you're welcome to place names in the chat below as we join together in a prayer for greater strength and wellness. Nishaberach.
Mekor Abraham, may the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu, mekor avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. In my Haftorah, the Babylonians are worried that God forgot them. The prophet tells them God doesn't forget them, he wants them to return. In a verse, God tells the people, "Return to me." This is interpreted differently among people. However, I think it means spiritually to return to God and Judaism itself. For all my Haftorah reading, please turn to page 978 in the Torah commentary book. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nbiim tovim v'ratza b'divrechem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai chaboher b'torah of Moshe Abdo Yisrael Amo Yivei ha'emet v'aseder. Zu Yasar Li La Peru below T Karata Yaakov Ki Agata Israel Lo Ebeta Ni Se Alotecha Uzvachecha Lo Ki Bads Tani Lo Evads Ticha Emicha Below Hogaticha Bilbona Lo Kanita Livakase Kane Bechalem Zavachecha Lo Hirvi Tani Ach Evadstani Becha Hugatani Bavonotecha Anuhi Gumoche Bishaecha Lamani Lecha Totecha Lo Hezbor. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Tzor Kol Olamim Sadik Bechol Hadarot Ha'el HaNe'eman HaOmer HaMoseh HaMdaber Kayim Shekol Devarav Emet V'Sedek Al HaTorah Ve'al HaVadah V'Hanivim V'Chayom HaShabbat Chazeh Shenatata Lanu Adonai Eloheinu Ikjasavli Nocha, Lefavodu Tifare, Ahako Adonai Eloheinu, Anachino Diwa, Umbarchim Ota, Yitzrach, Shimbifo, Fafi Chaitamid Laolam Baed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Kadesh Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. My Torah portion is about God explaining the rules of how to sacrifice animals. God's rules for most animals are mostly the same. Animal sacrifice is part of biblical culture and allowed our ancestors to connect with their faith. Thankfully, we now have much more peaceful ways of expressing our belief in God, which is through prayer, giving tzedakah, and helping those in need. The lessons I take away from this is that sometimes you must make sacrifices for the greater good of others. I also take away that sometimes it's okay to do what others consider wrong, or something you believe is right. The reasons our ancestors sacrificed to God is because they wanted to remember God. Something interesting about my portion is that at the end of the first word is a tiny olive. Nobody knows what it means or why it's there. My view on it is that this important text has been carried on, remembered, and recited for so long. Everything must have an important meaning, even down to the tiny olive. Everything should be remembered and acknowledged, no matter how small. Details matter in Torah and in life. How I relate to this is through creations of my own and others. Everything engineers and artists put in their builds and pieces are important to the last detail, even if it's not apparent to everyone who looks at it. In our mind as creators, some might not understand why a certain detail is added to their creation. It will always be important. You might not know what the tiny olive story is, so we can interpret it in many different ways. I started practicing for this day at the end of the summer with my amazing tutor, Mr. Larry Marcus. My school started in September, but it's harder to fit practicing into my busy schedule because of homework and tests to study for. At the end of November, I had the idea for my bar mitzvah project. I am donating used and new Legos for Lego Replay. This organization cleans and gives Legos to kids to need. This program has just started recently, in October 2019. I'm hoping that the donations I collect will help the program become bigger and help more kids. I appreciate everyone's donations. Together we have collected 114 pounds that will be going to kids in need. In addition to thanking my tutor, Mr. Larry Marcus, I'd also like to thank my parents for reminding me to practice and helping me with practicing, and Rabbi David and Janice Sandy for helping me along the way. I'd also like to thank all of my family for being very supportive along my journey to adulthood. I'm happy to have all my friends and family celebrating with us. Shabbat Shalom. Great job, Logan.
That was so good. That was really good. Great Torah, Haftorah, and a great Devar Torah. And this is my chance to share just some of my own remarks. I don't know if I'll do as well as you did, but I'll try. And I just want to acknowledge right away what it means for you to be standing here now in a sanctuary that's almost empty, and how that's not easy. And this isn't exactly what you had in mind when you got your bar mitzvah date 3.5 years ago at this point. This is not what we envisioned. And maybe one of the many takeaways is that life is unpredictable, right? We can't see what the future brings. And this is not exactly what you had in mind. But to your credit, and to the credit of your family, we're making the most of it. And this has been such a joy to be a part of. To be here as a nice small group is really special in its own way. And to know that there are millions watching online around the world is also very special. And I'm proud of you for that. And it really speaks to who you are and what you stand for, how you were determined to make this day happen. And that's exactly what you've now done. So there are two Torah portions I could reference now. The first Torah portion, as I noted, is the Torah portion we would have been reading on this Shabbat from Numbers, Baha'alotecha, this portion all about the building of this first ever tabernacle, a portable synagogue that the Israelites brought with them through the wilderness. And there's so much to be said about that portion. Maybe the one takeaway for here and now is it reminds us that Judaism is meant to be portable, right? If it's confined to one sanctuary, one synagogue, if it's not something we bring with us in our heart and live out every day with our words, with our choices, with how we spend our time, how we spend our money, who we spend our time with, then it's all just words. And over the course of this quarantine that we lived along with a vast portion of the world, we learned while this building was essentially closed, that to be a part of a synagogue family is about more than a building. And we too learned that our tabernacle too is rather portable in the end, in that we bring it with us and we carry it with us. To be a part of the Adif family is to know that you're part of Adif even when you're not here in this building physically. And we all felt that over these last many months. I know I did. The portion that you chanted was from the beginning of Leviticus, Vayikra, a portion, like we said, that we might have chanted weeks and weeks ago when we were supposed to be here. And this too is a really, really poetic and powerful Torah portion that tells us of the sacrifices that the Israelites will make in the time of the Torah. How their way of communing with God, talking with God, was through physical sacrifice. That this is what they had. And we can think now in our own day of how we express our faith, right? What are we doing to show our commitment to our heritage and to our tradition? Well, we're standing up for others, right? And now is a time when we need to stand up for others. Those who have been persecuted, those who have been mistreated because of their race, or because of where they come from, or because of what they believe, right? We show our Judaism. We live our Judaism by being there for others. How else do we live our Judaism and show that we are connected to our faith? By moments like this, right? It's a beautiful Saturday morning. You could have been lying on the couch. You could have been playing Xbox or some Xbox. Yeah. Fortnite? No. Okay. But here you are in the sanctuary, in the synagogue, leading us in prayer, inspiring us with your choices, inspiring us with your commitment. And it's a joy to be a part of it. It's a joy to be here with your parents, your brother who stood on this bima not terribly long ago, and really a gift that you've given all of us. I personally can't wait to see where you lead us now going forward, Logan. And before we move on with our service, I wanted to present you with a couple of items. It's fine. This is from our men's club. It's the Jewish Book of Why. A lot of answers to be found in here. This, from our synagogue board, is your own copy of the Torah, which you should treasure and keep. And this is your own Kiddush cup from our sisterhood. And perhaps you can use it at Shabbat and at different holidays over the course of the year. And who knows, maybe just as right now you're wearing the talis of your grandfather, that this Kiddush cup will now stay in your family for generations. Maybe it will. And then I have a series of certificates for you. We have a gift certificate for you to travel to Israel, maybe on a team trip, maybe as a family, probably not right now, but at some point to experience the beauty of Israel. This is a scholarship we give to all of our teams to encourage them to continue and to be a part of team night toward confirmation, which happens in 10th grade. And it was established by the Levine family to encourage all of us to continue learning and staying connected. And this is an invitation to be a part of our youth group. which does wonderful things around the community. And then last but not least, this beautiful certificate we all signed prior to our service, which is meant to be a memento and a reminder to you always that you stood up here tall and proud, and more than anything, a reminder that you can do anything you set your mind to, which I believe, and all of us believe. And lastly, my own prayer for you is that you be blessed always with health, with happiness, with lots of laughter, and with lots of love. And together we can say, Amen. I think we have a Shehechianu. Looking at Hayden, our tech guru, who's going to call our Shehechianu person, who is Addison. And Shehechianu is a blessing reserved for the most joyous moments in life. Today is certainly a joyous moment. So here is Addison/Hayden.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'egianu v'kimanu v'higianu b'zman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, for keeping us alive, for taking care of us, and allowing us to reach the special point of my cousin's bar mitzvah.
That was good, Addison. Very good. We're now going to welcome Logan's parents back to the bima to share a special blessing on this special day.
May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your destiny be for worlds still to come. And may you trust in generations past and yet to be. May your heart be filled with intuition, and your words be rich in understanding. May songs of praise ever be upon your tongue, and your vision clarify a straight path before you. May your eyes shine with the light of Torah, and your face reflect the brightness of the heavens. May your lips ever speak wisdom, and your fulfillment be in righteousness. Even as your ear to hear the words of the ancient one of holiness.
We're going to rise once more as we bring our Torah service to a close. We are on page 374.
Israel למחזיקים בביתומך מאושר. Israel למחזיקים בביתומך מאושר. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom. Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוסף בראשית, שלא עשנו כגוי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, לגורלנו ככל עמונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד. Ushemo, Echad.
Logan will now bless you with the threefold benediction of our people.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God always bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chonecha.
May God's countenance always shine upon you and always be gracious unto you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shalom.
May God always be with you and bless you always with shalom, with true peace. And together we can say, Amen. We're going to remain standing as we now think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be for a blessing. We recall first those taken from our congregation in most recent days: Ira Schwartz, uncle of Robert Schwartz; Harvey Matheson, father of Mark and Mary Matheson, grandfather of Remy and Lily; and our beloved congregant Mildred Rosenfeld. As well, we recall at this time those whose yahrzeit we mark this Shabbat: Harvey Bartashnik, Charles Cohen, Gregory Fink, Elizabeth Fleischner, Eugene Friedman, Helen Garth, Reuben Goldman, Chester Horowitz, Nathan Kushner, Sidney Lance, Joan Levinson, Gerald Lieberman, Peter Osler, Samuel Silver, Judith Simbro, Brenda Singer Barbieri, Rabbi Jeffrey Weisblatt, and with an especially heavy heart on this day, Louis Rosenberg, Sina Rosenberg, Rhoda Newman, Henry Miller, Lillian Miller, Morris Banks, Shirley Banks, and Richard Broski. To these names we add the many lives lost by virtue of their race or religion, victims of violence and prejudice, and those names that you would perhaps care to add to the comments below at this time, and the many names we carry and hold in our heart at this moment as we join in the hallowed words of Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mivarach le'olam u'lamei almaya, yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yitalal shemei t'kudusha b'richu, le'elamin kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved. Together we can say, Amen. We've made it to the end of our service, and of course we have a closing song, which is going to be Ameh Yisrael Chai, and we invite you to all sing along.
Ameh, Ameh, Ameh Yisrael Chai, Ameh, Ameh, Ameh Yisrael Chai, Ameh, Ameh, Ameh Yisrael Chai, Ameh, Ameh, Ameh Yisrael Chai. Oh, Rabinu Chai, oh, Rabinu Chai, oh, Rabinu Chai, oh, Rabinu Chai. Ameh, Ameh, Ameh Yisrael Chai, Ameh, Ameh, Ameh Yisrael Chai.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Mazel tov Logan.
Shabbat shalom.
Amazing job. That was so good. You did it.